mentally ill people. I'm not sleeping. So as I'm waking up, they said, they hit me with something. It's coming from above. I'm in my bedroom, so you guys know I have windows on two side walls, and it's coming from above. And they said, I'm not supposed to keep exposing that I'm in this book and that it was based on me. They were always surveilling me, which means they were profiting off me. The moment you use me in a book in any way, you're profiting off a former student at Fordham University. Is this what we do in this country? So they said, well, they thought I was Catholic. They knew that that was wrong. It has nothing to do with being Catholic. Catholic school children should not be exploited, sexually molested, or profited off. We pay to be there. And that goes back to what they said, that they thought I had a free ride in school. I didn't. And they knew that. Even if I did have a free ride in school, which means something much bigger. If children are given a free ride in school, they should still not be taken advantage of. And if that's happening to anybody who's being given any sort of free education, we have to find that out, and it has to be exposed. So they said, well, they thought because I was Catholic, I would think it's okay. Why would I ever think anything like this is okay? Because I'm depicted as being raped in a book, they ruined my life. And that was what they were trying to cover up. This did not always happen to me. So that book was published in 1998. And I told you, after I left Fordham, the opportunities for me dried up. So they are trying to throw all these other things in to confuse the book situation. So they were trying to say that they thought my name wasn't legally Shamega. Every single person involved in this knows my name is legally Shamega. It's legally Shamega. And when you put me in a book, and I graduated from Fordham University, the professor who wrote the book taught at Fordham University. I was her student. And then you depict me as being raped. All of these crazy people thought I actually went through those things in the book and started to harass me for it. Then they started to say, well, if you're in the book, we're going to set you up to be with people who need money, so that if you profit in any way, there's all these people begging you for stuff. I'm on welfare. I'm trying to get off welfare. I'm trying to monetize my YouTube channel so I can go back off welfare. So then they changed the story and say, oh, you were always on welfare. How the fuck could I have always been on welfare? And this is part of what I'm saying. In 1998, I was just starting my career. I graduated from Fordham in 1995. So I'm out there in the world just starting my career, trying to get my name out there in a positive way. And a Fordham University professor is writing about me. And now I'm in Google Reads as somebody who was raped, who had her underwear stolen after someone broke into her dormitory. And then they do the same thing here to me and keep yelling it out. And I'm like, what are they talking about? This is what I'm saying. This was all part of a cover-up of a bigger situation. And they said, well, if you're Catholic, you shouldn't expose it. That's the very people it would happen to. It wouldn't happen to someone who went to a different school. This is part of what I'm saying. They don't make any sense. And they're waking me up with all this bullshit, constant surveillance. If this is happening to me as someone who attended Catholic school, it would make sense. This is wrong. And I'm not going to stay silent. I'll keep exposing. They said black people in New York don't like me. Where are they? Bring them here. Don't do it through the fucking walls. Bring them here. They said something I wasn't supposed to be like this. I was not born Catholic. I didn't convert to Catholicism until high school. So all this bullshit they're talking about in terms of Catholic people, I didn't grow up that way. And they know that. So we're not going to change me into someone else because it's easier for them to try to get away with the crime. This is a crime. And somebody said something right now. It's a female voice. I don't know you. I don't like you. Leave me alone. You're harassing me. You want money. This is all this was. It was supposed to be silent. By the time I found this out, suddenly all of these weird things start happening to me. And I told you guys about this in 2019. In 2016, I guess somebody must have found out about the book. So they said, didn't someone in 2017 come into the World Trade Center boutique and say something to you about being from a publisher? I don't know. It seems like this is all a setup. They were going to kill me off, cover everything up, and I would just have been just another person who died. But because I heard the talking and told the police, well, then it's suspicious. Well, suddenly I'm the woman who worked at World Trade Center, told the police about the talking, and then I died. That's crazy. So to keep trying to blackmail me, well, you accuse men of raping you. This is the Bronx, New York. Do you think that wouldn't have been covered in the media? This whole thing should have been exposed years ago. So when I contacted on Twitter, I DM'd Julie Brown from the Miami Herald, and they said that they were angry that I contacted the media because they thought I was contacting her about Lacoste. They knew I wasn't. They knew I was contacting her about the talking. So that's partly what contributed to the next phase of this. They knew I DM'd her and I didn't hear back from her. And so they knew even before now I contacted someone in the media trying to talk about the voices, the gang stalking, these tactics, not even anything about Lacoste. Why would I think of anything about Lacoste, let alone knowing about the book at the time? So they're talking about Black people in New York. First of all, anybody who's grew up, born and raised here in New York with me knows that I'm West Indian. So we're talking about two different cultures right there. So if this is a cultural thing, that's part of this. In my culture, you don't take advantage of children. You do not. I want you to name somebody in my culture, and my culture will be the first to tell you. Children are not parents. Children do not care for the family. The adults care for the children. That's a cultural thing for West Indians. So we're talking about other cultures, not in my culture. We don't live off children. Children are to be cared for in my culture. So then the second part of that is they said, well, the other group doing this are Latinos. And in Latino culture, you're supposed to be very nice because I'm Black. I have to overexert myself because I'm so Black, I wouldn't get attention. I always got attention. That's another myth that they came up with. And I've shown you the pictures. There was no way I wasn't getting attention as a kid, as a teen, or as an adult. So that's another myth that they came up with. And I didn't grow up Catholic. Like I said, I converted in high school. The day of the ceremony was in June of 1991. The last myth that they came up about me was that they said something about white men. It was all guys. Even as a kid, men took to me. And they said in elementary school, one of our teachers, the elementary schoolmate told them that one of the teachers used to like pinch my cheeks and, make a big deal about me in class. They said, oh my God. So it wasn't like nobody was ever thinking, oh, what a cute kid. This is part of this myth that they came up with. They said, oh, they thought it was going to go in a different direction, like he was like trying to hit on you. No, I'm talking about in terms of it was never like I was this ugly little kid nobody liked. That was never it. He used to pinch my cheeks, what a cute kid or whatever. So what I'm saying about them is their minds always go in the wrong direction. As you guys just noticed, they just said this out loud. It always goes in the wrong direction. But that would not in any way be okay to put me later on in a book. It's not okay. Even if it went in that direction, that's not okay. This has to be exposed this way. It has to be. Because it's not okay. I will never, ever, ever think that anybody who was in any way sexually abused by a Catholic priest should hide that. It's wrong. I don't care what direction it goes in. The truth goes in the direction it's supposed to go in. If it's true, then I support victims. I'm not in any way going to hide any abuse that's ever happened by Catholic priests, Catholic teachers, Catholic anything. This is not who I am. You picked the wrong person for that. This is about exposing the truth. And if things happened at Fordham that weren't supposed to happen there, it has to be exposed. This is another part of this thought process. Who put me in this group of people where they think if something inappropriate happened with that teacher, I would be the first one to tell? I'm not that person you want me to be. I'm not staying silent on this. Take me out of this group. I'm not going to protect Catholic school if they did something wrong. This was Fordham University that did this, and this in writing. That's harassment. It's sexual harassment. And if all this fucking stalking is to protect Catholics, Catholic school, Catholicism, then I want that exposed also. That's part of the cover-up. I did not graduate and go on to some high-paying job. I fought my way every day at work in every job I've had since Fordham University. Okay? I didn't get handed a damn cent. So for me to be exploited over and over and over again to cover up, what the fuck did that university do for me? Nothing. And that's part of what I'm exposing. I allowed them to use my image and my name in a brochure to help them get students, to recruit students. So if anyone's going to come out and expose this, it would be me. I put my name out there for them, not knowing that afterwards this book would happen. So I would be the very person to say, here's my picture, here was my endorsement, I'm taking it back. And if Catholic schools and Catholic churches and Catholic people are involved in trying to silence me, you are committing a sin. This is a mortal sin that you're committing. Children should not be exploited in any school, whether it's elementary, high school, or Catholic colleges. It's wrong. Don't include me in your commission of a sin to cover something up that should never have happened. They said, now I'm looking to see how many minutes this video is. It's 12 minutes and 14 seconds, if anyone wants to know. They said, I'm going to try to stretch it out for an hour. Why would I sit here after just waking up and not wanting to have done a live period and then stretch it out for an hour? That's your mindset. You've exposed your own mindset, and I'm grateful to you. You've exposed the rot in your soul and your heart that children should be exploited and no one should mention it because that it's Catholic school. Well, let me open your mind and eyes and hearts up. The children. Okay, you may have a reason for not wanting to expose corruption, crime, and sexual abuse, but I don't. That's why your blackmail doesn't work on me. That's why I can stand out here publicly and people aren't saying, oh, no, I'm a good person, thankfully. And you better try to be one if you have any intention of keeping your identity hidden. Because I'm going to keep exposing you folks. You're rotten, horrible people. And I have proof. It's in writing. You put me in a book as being a rape victim, of having herself violated, of having people in her class call her pickaninny, a racist name. You depicted me as someone who had a caricature of herself as a pickaninny. You're a horrible person, and you're all horrible for not wanting this exposed. They said they don't want it exposed by me. Well, they aren't exposing it themselves, so it has to be done by me. Had this been exposed before the right way and not as a form of blackmail and extortion on me, thinking that I went along with it or I did something wrong, this would have stopped. This is about a setup. This is about a setup. And all of these aches and pains they expect me to feel and stop talking. The more aches and pains I feel, the more I'll talk. It's going to make me talk more. The more I talk, the more it's going to be harder for you guys to hide who you are. You're child molesters, child abusers, pedophiles, and people who don't care about the Catholic Church. If you cared about the Catholic Church, this would have been exposed, fixed, and moved on. And that's part of what I'm talking about. we're not about covering up crimes of people. We're about exposing those crimes, stopping them from happening again, and making sure the people who do these types of things will not ever be allowed to do it to anyone else. It also is about making sure that the places and companies and churches and businesses and all the other places that enable child abuse, support any sort of sexual abuse of people, support any of the corruption that exists, will no longer be allowed to do it to anyone else. It's about stopping crime. And they want to twist it into saying, well, what about this? There's no what about this when you're talking about human beings. Are you really going to say that they don't want me to eat meat or support horse carriage rides, but we're going to support people who sexually harass people, humans? So we think that animals are more important than human beings? So every day we're going to surveil me and monitor me and correct every little thing I do, even though it doesn't need correcting. But this needs correcting over here. Don't pay attention to that. Let's pay attention to her sleeping and making up fantasy worlds that exist while I'm asleep. Is that really what you guys were hired to do? So yes, I'm going to keep exposing this every fucking day. And for everyone out there who you victimize with this, because what they decided to do in the Bronx is talk about every single person's backgrounds, shame us all in order to keep focus off the bigger crime over here. We're going to talk about what happened in 3rd grade. We're going to talk about policing what I say because it may shame Catholic school. This book shames Catholic school. Since when is this okay? And I'm asking every last one of you, since when is this about shaming Catholic school and not about the bigger issue? Well, now they're quiet, of course, because again, this is about exposing any sort of corruption. And if it exists in Catholic colleges or universities, it must be exposed. Thank you for listening.